language is like water. It flows where it wants to flow. It's very organic. You should feel a little uncomfortable. If you're not feeling uncomfortable, you're not making progress. I see your eyes really big. Hey everybody, join my free online Circassian classes. Spread the word, like, comment, subscribe, and follow me for more updates. Welcome everyone, this is Jonty. Today is December 24th, 2022. And in this segment of the video, I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of today's new micro story, which is based around the verb to go, quen. To go in Circassian, when we say quen, it means to, the root of quen comes from the same part of saqua, which is your feet. So this means to go by walking, okay? But in the Circassian that we speak today, this verb can be used with any form of transportation. And this is different than German, this is different than Russian, it may be different than Arabic, Turkish, I'm not sure. But you can use this verb to go on with a car, with a train, with a bicycle. You can be walking there, right? Anything other than crawling, like a baby, you can use this verb. You can use this verb if you do it sometimes. You can use this verb if you do it all the time. And I know that's different with German and with Russian. So this verb is a very flexible, universal verb. It means to go. We have a robot, roboter, or with a Russian accent, roboter, kafem makwa. Roboter, kafem makwa. And again, what I'm trying to do in this class is use what are called cognates, words that are the same in multiple languages. Coffee, cafe, kino, right? It's easier for us to understand. So anybody who's watching on YouTube, why are you using a foreign word? To make it easy to learn the language. Roboter, kafem makwa, makwa, okay? This letter here, this is one letter. This is one letter. And this letter in Circassian is qua, qua, qua. This is hard for somebody who doesn't speak Circassian often because this is somewhat of a unique sound. I'm going to use my microphone up here to make this sound as clearly as possible. Qua, qua, qua. It is not the sound qua, qua, qua. That's a different sound. That's a different letter. Okay, that letter is this letter. Qua, qua, qua. This is qaf, qaf with like a W. Qua, qua, qua. That's not this sound. This sound is qua, qua, qua. There's almost a click in the bottom of your throat. Qua, qua. Okay. Roboter, kafem, makwa, makwa. Sa, soqua. Wa, woqua. Ar, makwa. Ar, makwa. Now notice, I've said before that in Circassian, there's two types, there's many pronouns, but the first person singular pronoun, it could be a boy, it could be a girl, it can be an animal, it can be a human, it could be a robot, it can be anything, alive, not alive, doesn't matter. It's either ar or ab, and it depends on the verb. I'm not going to get into the details, but we notice in the last micro story, to do work, right? Ab. Short answer is if the verb is transitive, you use ab. If the verb is intransitive, you use ar. And what does that mean? Transitive versus intransitive? Intransitive means that nothing can receive the action of that verb. Transitive means that something can receive the action of that verb. So the dog does something. He can do work. He can make work. He can make trouble. We can make a picture. We can make homework. We can make something, right? This is a transitive verb. There is something that can receive the action of the verb. Reading, I read a newspaper. I read the news. I read a book. This is a transitive verb. To go, and it may sound confusing because we think of transit as like movement. To go, there's nothing that receives the action. I go to work. Work does not receive the action of going. It's a place that you go, okay? So if it's a transitive verb, you will use the pronoun ab. And if it's an intransitive verb, you will use the pronoun ar. Ar. Okay? Ar makwa. Makwa. The question forms: sa sikura. Sa sikura. Do I go or am I going? These are both same translation. Wowukura. Do you go? Are you going? Ar quara. Is he, she, it going? Does he, she, it go? And notice here, sasokwa, this so becomes s in the question form. This wo just becomes w, because in Circassian, we never, ever, ever, we never, ever, in Kabardian, we never, ever put this letter next to this letter. So really the sound is similar. So becomes s, wo becomes w, wukora, and then this armakwa in the question form, we drop the m, and it's just ar quora, ar quora. Okay, so that's the walkthrough. School, yajapa. All right, now I think Zahir said he likes, and other people have said they like me to break down the words. So I'm going to break down these words for you. Yajapa, it means school. Yajapa. There's a verb in Circassian, yajen. Yajen. Yajen means to read. It means to study. It also means to call, but yajen means to study. When we add a to the end of anything, it's the place, it means a place, okay? So a school is yajapa. It's a place of study, okay? The word for work in Circassian, to do work, like I'm working, there's a verb, lezen, lezen. And remember, in the, I did a little off-camera summary of good morning, and I talked about this letter, z. Z. This is a softer version of z, 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 z. Lezen means to work. So your place of work is lezapa. Lezapa. It's your place of work. And then this final word down here is tequen. 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 And this qua, this is different than this qua. Qua. So this is qua, qua. This is qua, qua. That little click in the bottom of your throat does not appear in this word. This is a loan word from Arabic. This is a loan word from Arabic. Someone give me the word for how do you say store in Arabic? Dukkan. Yeah. And
in Turkish also we use dükkan.
Dukkan, yeah.
In Turkish we use it, yeah.
And many people, again, I think in both dialects, I think in Eastern dialect and in Western dialect, many people will say this word as duchan, duchan, which is correct also. Duchan, also correct. People in homeland, they'll use the Russian loan word, magazine, which means store in Russian language. This is correct as well. It has become part of the language.
What about like sokwaj, or sokwaj?
Okay. So I'm not going to get too deep into this right now. In Circassian, we do not have prepositions. We do not. So prepositions in English would be above, below, next to. We do not have prepositions in Circassian. We have a few postpositions, different types of words. Instead of prepositions like above, below, in front of, in back of, on top of, instead of these prepositions, we have affixes, right? And they can be prefixes, or they can be suffixes, or they can be affixes, which are in, so prefix is in the beginning of the word, an affix is, a suffix is at the end of the word, and an affix is in the middle of the word, all right? So, and it sounds confusing, but it actually makes Circassian very, very simple. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to teach you 6 words with one word. Quan, to go. To go. Sasokwa, I go. Now, when you add jin at the end of it, okay, sasokwaj, I'm returning, I'm going back, because that at the end, that suffix, it means that you're doing it in the reverse. Okay. Let me think of my mind is blanking on other prefixes and affixes.
I see. So like
Kakwaj. Okay, kakwaj. When you put the ka in the beginning of it, it means you're coming back into my direction. Okay, so sasokwa, I go. Sasokwaj, I'm returning. Kakwaj, come back to me. Just by learning those prefixes and those suffixes, you can then apply them to many other verbs and learn many, many, many more verbs in Circassian. So then we have the adjectives here. Zazamiza, 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 sometimes, zazamiza, sometimes, zhizha. So I didn't plan this to have all the zh and z in this class, in this lesson, but zhizha, zhizha, zhizha. It's a different z, okay? And then the last adjective, psinso, psinso, okay? The first syllable, psin, psin, and then we have this sound, sa, then we put a vowel, sa, and then we make it adverbial. This is actually an adverb. I don't know why we make it adverbial form, but we do. Psinso, psinso. This is called a diphthong in Circassian, not just in Circassian. In linguistic theory, it's called a diphthong. When you put two vowels together, it makes a slightly different sound. So this letter all by itself is so this would be psinsa, psinsa. If we just had this, it would be psinsu. I'm sorry, yeah, psinsu. But when we put them together, it's psinso, psinso. It's like o, psinso. It's a diphthong from these two letters that are put together. Okay, so very quickly, right? One. Roboter café makwa. Sasokwa. Wawokwa. Ar makwa. Sasekwara. Wawukwara. Ar kwara. Sa yajapam. Oh, and we add an When we make a location, we're going to add an so that I don't want to have to teach you the grammatical case here. You just put an to quanum. Okay, I have it, the transliteration. You add an to it for the grammatical case. Sa yajapum sokwa, wa lejapum wokwa, roboter kafeam makwa, ar, someone else, tuquanum makwa. Sa zazamiza yajapum sokwa, wa zhizha lejapum wokwa, wa tuquanum psinchu wokwa, or ar tuquanum psinchu makwa. Albert.
Yes, sir.
Sit.
Sit, Janti.
Rim.
Sit, Janti.
Roboter café makwa. Ooh. Roboter café makwa. Sa yajapum sokwa. Hawa. I'm an old guy. Rim is a young lady. So Rim. What?
Sit, Janti.
Yajapum wokwa.
Mhm.
Ooh. Albert.
Yeah. Sit.
What?
Yeah.
What? Lejapum wokwa.
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Yatana. And then, let's see. Yamiz is not part of the story, but I'm going to pick on him. Yamiz tequanum makwa. So you miss, you're not part of this, you're just part of the story, okay? You miss Tequila Makwa, okay? So we all understand what's going on in the story. Gotcha. Class.
Sit.
Sa kafeem sakura.
Oh,
Hawa. Rim. Sa kafeem sakura.
Hawa.
Hawa. Sa dena. Sa dena sakura.
you're not in the story.
You're not
Oh,
in
wait,
the story.
that's right. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to the store. Okay, sa tequanam. Sorry. Okay. So rim. Sa
Good.
kafeem sakura.
Hawa. What to kanem wogwar.
Pej. Sa tequanam sokwa. Wari rim. Wari tequanam wukora.
Hawa. Sa yajapam sokwar.
Wo japam wokwa. Albert. Rim dena quara.
Rin, you Japan, Mako.
Rim ye japam makwa. Wari ye japam wukora, Albert.
Our son, the Japan, Soko.
Pej. Wa le japam wokwa. Chet kafeem quara.
Roboter. Kafem magwar.
Pej. Roboter kafeem makwa. Albert. Roboter dena quara.
Roboter Cafe, Mako.
Pej. Rashi. Therefore, roboter kafeem makwa. Sa tequanam sokwa. Rim yajapam makwa. Albert lejapam makwa. Rim,
Sit.
tell me everything going on in this story in Circassian, like I just did.
Roboter. Kafem magwa. Sa yajapam sokwa. Albert lajapam magwa. Wa to kanem wogwa.
Pej. Albert.
Uh-huh.
What dena wukora?
So the Japan, Soko.
Seri lejapam sokora.
Our, what's a Quantum Woko?
Rim dena quara.
Rin, you Japan, Mako.
Rim ye whoops, dena rim quara. You ask Rim, where is she going?
Rin,
Sit, Albert.
then, Wakwara.
Sa yajapam sokwar. What ana ukwara?
So the Japan, Soko.
Okay.
Okay, my question is in Adigabza, I think the adjective, the noun precedes the adjective, right?
The noun precedes the, yes.
Always.
Precedes, yes. The adjective
Precedes,
always
yeah.
comes after the noun. Mhm.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
We had a question as well, in Amr. If I'm asking, Khat Kafem Makwa, is it Makwara or Makwa? Which one would be the correct one?
So when we ask the question form, okay, we don't put the ma in front of it. We say chet kafeim quara.
Quara.
In when we make the statement, we say har kafeim makwa. But when we say who, chet kafeim quara. Or if I ask you, what dena wukwara, where are you going? So when we ask the question form, we do not have the ma.
I wanted to ask you if I'm saying I'm going to a far work, so, or like a far school, I don't put the M at the end, right? So
No, yeah. Japa, zza,
Mhm.
sokwa. Yeah.
Because we were discussing that in the break room and they were putting the M at the
Yeah.
end. So I thought that's not correct.
So it's an interesting question. There are, language is a living thing, right? Circassian has forms that are no longer used. They kind of died out in the early 19th century. There are some forms and some use cases that we just don't use in our normal speech anymore. Among native speakers, some will say kafeim makwa, some will say cafe makwa. And it's a little bit of a debate as to whether one is correct or another is correct. Plurals are another thing that we don't do. We have this weird relationship with plurals. Like, for example, akhir, they. Was, some people say they went. Some people say akhir quachas. They pluralize the verb. And Circassian spoken 100 years ago, probably 100 people said quachas, but plurals have been sort of dropped slowly out of the language. This happens in all languages. In English, we used to have something called the genitive case, which shows possession. We still have this in German. We still have this in Russian. And this is where we add an S. This is where like the plural, like Jonty's or Ream's book, this is where we get this from. It's an evolution of the language. So I don't want to say one's absolutely correct and one's absolutely incorrect. Some people will also say, sa cafe jijum sokwa. That pops in and out depending on what sort of native speaker you're listening to.
How do we ask the negative form as a question? Who is not going to cafe? Or aren't you going to somewhere?
Verbs in Circassian can be very, very complex. So there's two ways. There's a couple ways to make verb negation. First, let's start with the root, right? So to negate a verb in the present tense, which is what we're doing here, we take that question form of the verb, okay? Ar, quara. We drop the and we put the qim in its place. Ar quarqum. He, she, it is not going. Ar quarqum. That's how that is the basic formula to negate verbs when you're making a statement. Okay. Then if you're going to ask the question, who is not going, this is a little bit outside the scope of this class, but it's a little bit more advanced. Chet mukwara. So the other way to negate a verb is to add a m in the beginning of it. And we do this when we're asking the question of who's not doing the verb. Who is not speaking. Okay. We also do this when we make a command form. Wumukwa, do not go. Wumapsasha, do not speak. Right? So the way that we do this, I'm giving you the formula. We add a m prefix in the beginning of the verb to do the construction that you're asking. I see your eyes really big. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I know it's a lot, but that's the answer.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I would like to ask the opposites of Zazamiza, Psinshu, Jija. It will be nice to see them in the same slides, actually, for the memory, it will be more helpful, I guess, but I don't know.
So it's a good question. In this class, so the way that all of this content is designed, it's designed with a lot of research behind it. I think you guys appreciate that. One of the pieces of research that went into the construction of these materials is a concept in teaching languages or in language acquisition called interference. Interference says that when we learn vocabulary that is thematically linked, so it could be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It could be knife, fork, spoon. It could be close, far, black, white, smart, dumb. These are all thematically connected. It could be palm tree, pine tree. It could be desk, chair. These are all in our brain thematically connected. All of the research shows that in the short term, near, far, big, small, right? It's easy to remember in the short term. But 2-3 days later, a week later, your brain cross wires, and it's called interference, and you confuse fork for knife. You confuse big for small. You remember one word for another word, and you mix them up. So that's why it would have been a lot easier to write these slides, close, far, big, small, up, down. It would have been very easy. But we made a lot of effort to use words that make sense. Hopefully they make sense, that are not thematically linked. So a few days from now, a week from now, you're not confusing big with small or close with far or some of those things. So if you have questions about those vocabulary words, I will give you the answers. But in the
Yeah.
slides, I specifically do not do that so that you'll remember better over time. A lot of people in the breakout rooms were asking, how do you do past tense? How do you do future tense? And actually, among all the things in Circassian, this is one of the easiest types of things to learn. So we start with that question form, but we drop that, we just drop it. We do a similar thing to put this verb into the future tense, which is over here. This is the future tense, okay? So this is very simple. What we do is we drop this, the we drop the we drop the okay, we drop them all. We keep the pronoun prefix, and here there is no pronoun prefix, because remember, we drop it in the question form, and we continue to drop it. Sa sequanus, I will go. In the future, I will go. Wa woquanus, you will go. Ar quanus, he, she, or it will go. Ar quanus. And then the past tense, equally simple. Sa sequas, wa woquas, ar quas, he, she, or it went. We're not going to practice this, right? We're not going to practice this. I just wanted to give you guys an overview of how this works, and this is for all verbs. This is, I'm going to say 99.9% of the time, any verb that we cover, you just put anus for the future and ash for the past, okay? And for the statement form, this works. I'm going to get back into this micro story, and what we'll do for the remainder of the class, we're going to set this up so when we get back together on Monday for North America, and on Wednesday, we can continue working our way through the story. What I'm going to do right now, though, is I want 2 more volunteers, and we're going to add the adjectives to these nouns. The robot's going to the cafe. I'm going to say, Jan Dilara is going to school. Okay. Hamza, you are going to work. And Janset, you are going to the store. Okay. And I'm going to go home. Wunnam. Wunna. We all know, I think we know this word. A lot of us know this. Wunna. Wunna. Okay. I'm going to go home. So it's not on the screen, but I'm going to go home. Okay. Class.
Sit.
Oh. Roboter cafe. We don't have to worry about the U. Roboter cafeem makwa. Roboter cafeem makwa. Sa wunam sokwa. Chat yajapum quara.
Jandilara Yajapam Quara.
Jandilara yajapum makwa.
Makwa.
Makwa. Pej. Hamza.
Sit.
Dana janset quara.
Janset Tikwanum Makwa.
Janset tekonum makwa. What dana wukura, Hamza?
Sa Lajapam Sokwa.
Pej. What lejapum wukwa. Lejapum sitwa de lejapum wukura.
Lajapam Sa Lajapam Jija Sokwa.
Sa lejapa jija sokwa.
Lajapa Jija Sokwa.
We drop the m. Sa lejapa jija sokwa. Apkodu jpanhuish. Arashi wa lejapa jija wukura.
Ara Pej Sa Lajapa Jija Sokwa.
Wa zazamiza lejapum wukura.
Hawa Ar Jija Sokwa.
Jija wukwa. Pej. Jandilara.
Stood.
What dana wukura?
Se yechapam sokwa.
Wa yejapam psınçu wukora.
Se sezemize yechapam sokwa.
Paj. Wa zezemize yejapam wukwa. Zezemize. Censet.
Set.
Wa tekwanım zezemize wukora.
Hawa sa tekwanım psınçu sokwa.
Da paj. Wa tekwanım psınçu wukwa. Sa dana sıkora.
We wona wokwa.
Paj.
Win.
Paj. Sa wunım sokwa. Sa zezemize wunım sıkora.
Hawa.
Hawa. Paj.
Wunam wokwa.
Sa wunım
Zezemize
sokwa.
em.
Zezemize.
Zezemize em.
Okay, I
Zezemize
sometimes don't go home. Okay, Khunsta. Sasi winner jija.
Relative.
Relative. Tawqab sukhra. What do you think? Sasi winner jija.
Nta.
Anta. Chicago jija sfafidishja. Jinsiet.
Set.
What dana wukora?
Set dükkanım sokwa.
Dawa wukora.
Psınçu.
What psınçu wukwa. Nta. Khat lejapam kora.
Hamza. Hamza lecapam makwa.
Hamza.
Set.
Lejapar dana.
Si lejapar jijas.
Pej. Si lejapar jijas. We can use these words in lots of different ways. We don't have to just have a little formula. Khat yajapam kora.
Janset yajapam makwa.
Janset.
Set.
What dana wukora?
Sa tekwanım sokwa.
What tekwanam wukwa? Sit kwada tekwan. Okay, so now I'm going to use a different word. Quadra wukora. Do you go often? Quadra wukora. Quadra, it means often. It's a new word. Quadra wukora.
Hawa sa psınçu sokwa. Yeah.
No, what psınçu wukwa. Pej. Okay.
I used to hear in my household, my parents, when they were used to speak, they still speak. When they negate, sometimes instead of using qim, they use im. Wana Is it? It's not the right way. It should
It's
be.
correct. No. It's correct. It's correct. So language is like water. It flows where it wants to flow. It's very organic. And then what happens is over time, people will build a dam, they'll build a river, they'll do something with that water to force it in a direction. We do the same thing with language. It gets standardized over time as it gets documented, as it gets written, as books are created, okay? There are many people who will say, Sasa adigas. In this class, we say, Sasa adigas. People from my mother's region in homeland, they speak like that, Sasa adigas. My mother and father, who were born and raised in Syria, they speak like that, Sasa adigas. My son, my 8-year-old son, I don't know where he gets this accent, but he speaks like that, Sasa adigas, right? This is correct. This is correct. Native speakers use this construction. It is correct. In this class, because it's spelled as, and by the way, even if you say adigas, you're still going to spell it with the s. So to keep things simple, I spell it the way I say it, Sasa adigas. Then we get into like negation forms. So I always use this example. To say I know, sosa. To say in the literary form, exactly the way it's written in a book, I don't know, sisrqam. The way my wife says it, the way my children say it, something. They drop the they drop the qim, and they just say something. So you can say it something, You can say sarqam. You can say sharqam. These are all correct because native speakers define the language, not some book, not some guy on the internet. It's the native speakers that define the language. So the way your parents speak is absolutely correct. And it's not that it's a lower level of the language or a high. This is not true. It's not correct. Oh, but it's street language. It's correct. It is absolutely correct. And if they speak like that in formal anywhere, it's as proper as the way that we're speaking here. It's not that one's higher and one's lower. No, they are both equal. They are both correct.
So we spoke before on dialects. So is this kind of touching upon that like it'll be like, my question is that when I first was introduced to the language, I was trying to learn the alphabet, but it was by someone who spoke it J'adore. And so I was learning the writing. So will some letters be different sounds if you're learning it in a different dialect?
No.
No?
But there's an asterisk to this. So in this class, we're using the Eastern dialect, Kabardian.
Yeah.
Kabardian has, I think, 56 letters. I always forget if it's 54 or 58 because there's 2 letters that are part of the formal alphabet that we don't use. And we only use for loan words, Russian loan words. And it's the letter U and it's the letter Yo. Okay. So I forget, I think it's 56 letters. We in the Eastern dialect, we have 2 sounds that the Western people don't have. It's at least 2. One is kha, and one is kwa. These are 2 sounds we have that the Westerners don't have. But the Westerners have 4 sounds that we don't have. And they're all swa. I can't make them all, but they're derivations of swa.
It's like a whistle, like from here.
It's a whistle.
Yeah.
It's a whistle. And it's interesting because as you come from the west of the Caucasus to the east of the Caucasus, what you find is that a lot of the harder sounds become softer. So I've said this before. So chale in Western Circassian becomes sal in Eastern. So when I say hard or soft, I'm not making, it's not good or bad. It's just, it's chale, right? But that ch becomes sl in the Eastern. So it's a softer version of it. But also what you find in the Western is that they have more versions of the sh characters, sounds. And if you go to Abkhazia, Abkhaz has like 6 of these sounds, and there's even more whistles associated. That's what it's called. It's called a whistling sound. Georgian also has a lot of these whistling sounds. And linguists say that it's because of the elevation of the mountain, because the language evolved at a higher elevation in the mountain where the atmosphere is thinner. This is what linguists say. The nasal cavities are bigger and there's more of an ability to say these sounds and to hear these sounds. So that's the linguistic theory behind it. But Western dialect has a slightly different alphabet. They do not have the 2 letters that I just described, but they have 4 additional letters that we don't have. And some of the letters are in a slightly different order in the alphabetic charts, but it would be like reading Turkish versus reading English. Like, no, that's not true. It would be like reading Spanish versus reading English. They have most of the same letters, but they have that little N letter with the little squiggle on top of it. That's yo. But it's 95% the same.
So as long as you like actually really learn the language, you can pretty much talk to anyone from the other dialects.
Pretty much.
Okay.
This came up last class. Somebody asked a similar question. And I said, it would be like if you speak Egyptian Arabic versus Syrian Arabic, it might take you a couple of days, maybe anywhere from a couple hours to a couple of days to kind of figure out what this means versus that means. But if you have a level of fluency, after a very short period of time, it's going to be very comfortable for you.
Yeah, Jonty. It's been bothering me for a long time. I never got a chance to ask because I always forget. Does the word sunshine also mean light as well as fast? Because I could have sworn I've heard my mom use that.
It does. It does. So first, let's just go to the root. Psinsa. Psinso is an adverbial form, but the simplest version of the word is psinsa. Psinsa. And psıncha can mean light, like as in not heavy. It can mean like light as in not burdensome. It can also mean fast or quick.
Gotcha. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So opposite would be wandel, like for heavy.
Rondel would be burdensome.
Oh,
Rondel would be burdensome because it comes from the same root as the word darwa, which means defect.
It's the same heavy, wonder, heavy.
Again, when it comes to genders and when it comes to reproduction, Circassians have a very strange thing about this. So I do know that sometimes pregnant women don't like to be called wendel because it means that they've gotten bigger. Same as some women, married women don't like to be called fiz, which means wife, because it means they're old. They want to be called pshasha, right? So I do know it can be used in that sense. But again, it's kind of, it varies by diaspora or homeland. So for example, we have different ways to say male and female. We can say tzahuch for male, and we say tzahubz for female. And this is only for humans. But there's also bzithluch and bzithlucha, which means male and female also. In some parts of the diaspora, both will be used for humans. In other parts of the diaspora, bzithlucha and I forget them already, are only used with animals. So again, it has to do with how the language evolved as the diaspora spread out of the homeland. So a lot of these words can mean different things. Last one, then I'll go to Genset. A very good example of this is just even within Kabardian, the word to breathe means bawen in the eastern part of the Eastern dialect. But if you go to Qarashaivo-Cherkessia, they're also Kabardian. They speak Kabardian, same dialect. Bawen means to kiss. So, you know, I have a friend who swears this is a true story. You know, one time he was working, he was in Qarashaivo-Cherkessia. He's working in the field. It was like a summer job, and there's some guys around me. He goes, "Hey guys, why don't we stop for a moment and take a breath?" And they looked at him like, well, hang on, what kind of friends are we? They were not that kind of friends. And so clearly they understood what they were talking about. But what we would say in Kabardino-Balkaria is ba huasun, to make a kiss, ba huasun. But what they say in Qarashaivo-Cherkessia is bawen, to kiss, right? So even in the homeland, that's an example of how the language evolves.
Is Jabashwa sleepy?
Jebashwa.
Jabashwa.
Jebashwa. Sleepy. Sleepyhead. Sleepyhead. Jebashwa. Where did you hear that word?
My dad keeps saying it about us when we were kids, when we just wake up or going to sleep.
Yeah.
Like when we're done for the day. And then when my daughter wakes up, we call them. They're in Jordan.
Jebashwa. Yeah.
And then she just woke up. So he says, Jibashwa Jana.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very warm, very soft, very nice word. Yeah. I haven't, I don't hear lots of diaspora know that word. So that's a nice word. Yeah.
Hope so.
Hope so is. The last thing I want to say to you guys, this came up in the last class. I'm going to start making this a common theme. I know this is hard for many of you, but the best way for you to practice this language is to try to make this part of your daily life. Now, some of you might live someplace where there's nobody around you who speaks. Some of you may not know how to read. I know this is hard. I know, I don't want to say hard. I know this can be difficult for some of you, for many of you, okay? But the best advice I can give you, learning a language is like being healthy, all right? If you want to be healthy, you don't go to the gym 30 minutes and then eat junk food all day, right? Being healthy is every decision you make. It's going to sleep on time, drinking water, not having too much stress, eating the right foods, going to the doctor, walking, laughing, having friends, having balance in your life. Those are all of the things that it takes to be healthy. Similar when it comes to learning any language. the best advice I can give anybody is to try to make this language part of your daily life. If you think of this language as an extra job that you have to do, you're never going to make progress. I'm sorry to say it, because no one's paying you for this job. No one's rewarding you for this job, right? And again, it's like being healthy. No one pays you to go to the gym. No one pays you to be healthy. No one even rewards you if you come and say, oh, look, the doctor says I'm very healthy, right? This is a fact. This is a personal thing. But if you find reward in being healthy and you make your lifestyle so that you do these things, you will be healthy. It's the same thing with learning the language, right? If you come to this class 2 times in a week and then you watch a video every now and again, it's helpful, but to really, really make progress, it has to be part of your daily life. And so the easiest way to do this is to try to connect Circassian to something that you already do every day. This is the best advice I can give you. So some of you may say, hey, before I go to sleep every night, I like to read a book. If you can read something in Circassian, even if it's for 5 minutes, okay? If you read for 20 minutes a day, just as an example, if you can read, if you read for 20 minutes a day, and you do this every day, 20 minutes before you go to sleep, in 1 year, because there's 365 days, you will have spent 100 hours reading. 100 hours. Many of us are students or professionals. We all know 100 hours is like 6 courses in college. 100 hours is like 5 professional certificates. That's a lot of time. But if it's just 20 minutes a day, over 1 year, it is 100 hours, right? Some of you may like to take a walk before work, after work, during lunch, whatever. Find a YouTube channel where they sing songs in Circassian. Find a YouTube channel where they make audio broadcasts from Nalchik or from Maikwap in the language. Some of you may call your mother every night or your grandmother every Sunday, whatever. Try to find a way to get anything that you already do. The best way to form a new habit is by taking something you do every day and connecting the new habit to that existing habit. Even, hey, you brush your teeth every morning, learn the words for teeth and email me. I'll tell you the words. You know, the, zog, z, zup, right? Zel, your gums. Something that you do every day. If you pray every day, 5 times a day, you have 5 opportunities, right? But the best advice I can give you is take something you do every day and connect this language to that thing, even if it's just for 5 minutes. And that's the starting point. This is a journey that you're on, okay? You are going to go on a journey. That journey is made of little steps. Every day you will make little steps. And every step is small, but when they add up, they're big. So that's just the best advice. People asked, on YouTube and Facebook, on the WhatsApp group, how do I do? That's the best advice I can give you. So I just wanted to share that today.